A masterpiece, or a masterpiece of deception. This is the story of how one man fooled the world with forgeries so perfect they were almost too good to be true. In the 1940s, this Dutch artist pulled off one of the greatest art scams in history. His forgeries were so perfect, they fooled the world's top experts, and even Nazi leader Hermann Göring. But when he was arrested after Second World War, his defense shocked everyone. This is the unbelievable story of Han van Meegeren, the master forger who outsmarted the Nazis. Han van Meegeren, born October 10, 1889, Deventer, Netherlands. Studied architecture at the Delft Institute of Technology, but shifted to painting, under the mentorship of Bartus Korteling, a conservative artist who admired the old masters. Van Meegeren's original paintings were technically skilled, but criticized as derivative. Frustrated by the lack of recognition, he resented the art establishment for dismissing his work while praising modern styles like Cubism and Expressionism. Frustrated, he vowed revenge. If the art world wouldn't accept his originals, he'd give them what they wanted, perfect fakes. He possessed not only immense technical skill, but an unparalleled ability to mimic the old masters. Van Meegeren spent 4 years working out techniques for making a new painting look old, and he studied Vermeers methods. The biggest problem was getting oil paint to harden thoroughly, a process that normally takes 50 years. He solved the dilemma by obsessively mixing his own paints from authentic 17th century formulas using phenol formaldehyde, bakelite, antique canvases and pigments, and even invented a way of baking his paintings to maintain cracks and make them appear centuries old. He took an actual 17th century painting and removed most of the picture with pumice and water, being most careful not to obliterate the network of cracks, which had an important role to play. After having tried his hand at a few typical Vermeer interior compositions, for whom the artist is renowned, Van Meegeren had what might be called his stroke of genius. Instead of forging variations of the interiors, which could be compared to works hanging in museums, Van Meegeren chose to forge an early Vermeer of a religious theme based on a composition of Caravaggio. Scholars had long suspected that Vermeer had been to Italy, and Van Meegeren's lost painting would have confirmed that. The subject and early technique of the painting also helped to mask his own technical and expressive inadequacies. When he unveiled the Supper at Emmaus, a newly discovered Vermeer, it was hailed as a lost treasure. Some of Van Meegeren's forgeries include the Supper at Emmaus, 1937, sold to the Boymans Museum as a newly discovered Vermeer. Experts, including Abraham Bredius, hailed it as a masterpiece. The Last Supper, 1941–42, bought by Nazi banker Alois Miedl. We also did a video about this painting. Link is in the description below. Christ with the Adulteress, 1942. Sold to Hermann Göring for 1.65 million guilders, equivalent to $30 million today. And also forged works attributed to Peter de Hooch and Frans Hals. The greatest problem that faced Van Meegeren was the secrecy in which he had to work. He could hire no models since they might talk. For the Last Supper, he was forced to rely mainly on his imagination, and it is a wonder that he dared such an accomplished composition, involving 13 figures in a variety of poses. At one point, he stole directly from Vermeer, using the head of the girl with a pearl earring for his head of St. John. His forgeries were so convincing that even world-renowned art experts authenticated them. Soon, collectors and museums scrambled to buy these new Vermeers. But Van Meegeren's greatest con was yet to come, involving one of history's most feared men. As the Nazis plundered Europe's greatest art collections, one man took a special interest in the newly discovered Vermeers, Hermann Göring, Hitler's second-in-command and a voracious art collector. Van Meegeren sold one of his forgeries directly to Göring himself. The Reichsmarschall believed he had acquired an authentic Vermeer, but in reality, he had been conned. In 1945, as the dust settled after World War II, Van Meegeren's name surfaced in a shocking way. Dutch authorities arrested him, accusing him of treason for selling a national treasure to the Nazis. The penalty? Death. The trial of Van Meegeren began on October 29, 1947, in Room 4 of the Regional Court in Amsterdam. Facing execution, Van Meegeren had only one way to save himself. By proving that the Vermeer he sold was a fake, he confessed that, spurred by the disappointment of receiving no acknowledgements from artists and critics, I determined to prove my worth as a painter by making a perfect 17th century canvas. And so, before the eyes of the court, he did the unthinkable. He painted another Vermeer, this time not for deception, but for the truth. The experts were stunned. He really was that good. The verdict: not guilty of treason. Instead, Van Meegeren was convicted of fraud and sentenced to just 1 year in prison. But by then, he had become a national hero, the man who fooled the Nazis and the entire art world. During the investigation, Van Meegeren revealed that having once fooled the art world with Christ and the disciples at Emmaus, probably his best forgery, he was encouraged to try new forgeries. He painted a head of Christ, sold it through an intermediary, and then found the Last Supper for which it was a supposed study. The buyer of the Christ painting was only too eager to snap up the full-scale painting. At the end of the trial, the collaboration charges were changed to forgery, and Van Meegeren was condemned to 1 year in confinement, but it was said he was tickled to get only 1 year in jail. 2 years, he told a reporter, is the maximum punishment for such a thing. I know because I looked it up in our laws 12 years ago, before I started all this. But sir, I'm sure about one thing. If I die in jail, they will just forget all about it. My paintings will become original Vermeers once more. I produced them not for money, but for art's sake. Han van Meegeren's story remains one of the greatest art hoaxes in history, a tale of deception, revenge, and one man's ability to rewrite the narrative of art itself. In the world of art, authenticity is everything, but sometimes a lie can be just as powerful as the truth, because sometimes the greatest stories are painted in deception. Van Meegeren died in 1947, but his forgeries live on. Some were destroyed, others hang in museums as curiosities. And here's the scary part. His Vermeers are still out there, undiscovered. Was he a criminal? A genius? Or just a man who proved how easily we're fooled by the past? So next time you see an old master in a gallery, ask yourself, could it be a fake? Or worse, could it be his fake? Please subscribe to the channel if you enjoy our stories. Thank you. See you in the next video.